now Congressman Louie Gohmert at the Texas border. Congressman, how are you?
Hello, Judge.
What's the situation?
As far as I know, I'm okay, but I'm brokenhearted. Well, last night was out till 2 or so on the border, and there was wave after wave after wave of people coming. And what you see, the New York Times wrote about the youngest coming across was 3 years old, unaccompanied. And you and I both referred to the unaccompanied. But, Judge, the truth is no child comes unaccompanied. They pay drug cartels to bring them in. Why? Because this president has given the impression correctly that if you come, you get to stay. So we are luring children here through savage circumstances. Some of them get pulled off into sexual trafficking, which was the reason for the Wilberforce law, to try to avoid that. Well, now it's been used to draw more and more into sexual trafficking, human trafficking. So they come here, and immediately they're expecting their rights. If you look at the $3.7 billion the president says he's got to have, hardly any of it is going to help the problem here on our border. There's even money for leadership training in there for the people who come in illegally. That way maybe they can create their own acorns, things like that. It is outrageous. Texas DPS is doing a tremendous job helping, supplementing, but that's not their job. But if you go back to what you originally said in your monologue, Right. We got people down there working hand in hand with Border Patrol. They're spending money, millions of dollars. They shouldn't have to. But at the very start of your monologue, fantastic, you encapsulated so much of the trouble here. But you mentioned, what some people have gotten outraged about and said, how dare you say the president wants to turn Texas blue? Well, how about because the president says he wants to turn Texas blue? Right. How about the Democrats saying they're going to turn Texas blue? At some point, I mean, you tried as a judge, circumstantial evidence case. I have. You look at the circumstances. He's doing everything he can, including luring as many millions so far, tens, hundreds of thousands. We're told there's 300,000 in the channel. And Judge, let me just mention,
hang on,
at
Congressman,
1:30 or so
Congressman, we've got a break coming up. Stay with us. We're coming right back to you. And coming up, we're going to continue our coverage live from the border of the recent crisis. And vote in tonight's Insta poll. What should we do with the thousands of children that are crossing into our country? Facebook or tweet me at Judge Jeanine. All right, Congressman, the president blames you and the Texas delegation for the border problems. What do you say?
Well, I'll say that the president is the source of the problems. When the president spoke up and created his own DREAM Act and said, so I've spoken it, so it shall be, it was the lure that drew people up here. There's been no spike in violence in Central America. They're coming because of the president's promises. And when they get here, they call home and say, hey, it's true. They're not sending people back. It's the president's problem alone.
Congressman, I understand that there are ads on state-run TV in Central America saying, go to America if you're a minor, they'll take you in, they'll give you a path to citizenship. Why isn't the Obama administration doing something to counter that?
Well, they have said some things. They've made statements that they're not wanting people to come.
So then why aren't they closing the border?
I know. Well, that's the problem. They're saying it, but they're doing nothing to make that happen. They could secure that border, but those guys, those Border Patrol out there on the river, they are working as hard as anybody possibly can. But it's not just the kids coming. I was out there. There was an hour-and-a-half period where there were so many people coming that the handful is all they had available in that one spot. Were processing these people as this administration's requiring, and we were down there, just a few of us, and there were lookouts we ran into. Those have got to be the drug lord lookouts. There's other things than kids coming in, and this administration could stop it. But let me tell you something that hadn't been really hammered. Article 1, Section 10, when the federal government is not able or is not willing to protect from an invasion, a state has the right to reach its own agreements, levy its own taxes, and do whatever it has to secure its border from further invasion. And this is an invasion, twice as big already than D-Day and twice as many again still coming.
Oh, right. And Congressman, what do you think of the fact that the president didn't even want to visit the border but would rather play pool and says he's not into photo ops?
Well, I mean, it's consistent with his... we had heard his body man say that during the Benghazi, the Bin Laden raid, that he went in and looked, and then he went and played cards, totally absent, as you pointed out, on Benghazi. So it's consistent. And really, after you make a dramatic mess and children are dying out there because you've helped lure them in, would you really want to go see that? Well,
you know, I mean, can you imagine if George Bush never went to look at Katrina? He got enough grief for being in a helicopter. Finally, talking about... Go ahead. And Judge, actually, apparently the administration went back and was able to dig out Scott McClellan's old talking points on why the president needed to just look out from the window. I couldn't believe they were recirculating President Bush's old reasoning behind that. All right. Congressman Gohmert, thanks so much for being with us this evening. Judge, I didn't feel like I needed to say much after your monologue. You nailed it all.